Tyson Fury knocks out Dillian Whyte in round 6 with a beautiful uppercut, and I think we can agree, Ram, a beautiful performance as well.
I think it was punch perfect, to be honest. I don't think he took any shots. I think he softened him up with a jab throughout the fight, 1-2, and then the one time he threw an uppercut, he took Dillian Whyte out.
And I think, like you say, going into it, we've been talking beforehand going into the fight. In that final fight week, a lot of people started to side with Dillian Whyte. And in my opinion, I think a lot of emotion kicked in for a lot of people. The underdog story, Dillian was the underdog. I think a lot of people wanted the underdog to win. So there was a lot of emotion overriding sort of being objective, maybe going back and watching some of his recent performances, watching Fury's and making the judgment based off that.
Yeah, I think tonight was for me was an indicator of two things. One, how great Tyson Fury is as a fighter, and two, I think this is kind of the culmination of Dillian Whyte on the decline a little bit, because, like we've said before, he's been hurt previously. Parker, Rivas, Chisora twice. He got knocked out by Povetkin, and tonight it's a bad knockout. There's no way he was out, like actually out. I know he got to his feet, but he was all over the place. He was out, and yeah, and I think there's two things from tonight for me. One, Tyson Fury is an all-time great. Where you place him in that ranking is up to you. I think he's the greatest ever of all time. But Dillian Whyte is slightly on the decline.
And even that debate, because beforehand there was a lot of talk from pundits in the media about who has more miles on the clock, suggestions of obviously wars with Wilder, Whyte's fights and whatnot. But again, it's another performance, another spectacular event where no miles have really gone on the clock for Fury again. He's like we say, there'll be a lot of people talking about the knockout, talking about that performance and that punch. But from round 1 to 6, he controlled it. He was landing the jabs at will, going back to the old Mick Hennessy, talking about Hugh Fury landing jabs at will, shades of Ali. Fury was just so comfortable in there, wasn't he?
Yeah. You know what? He looked big, he looked strong, but he was so fleet of foot. He was so quick in the jab. The 1-2 was there all night for him, and then, like we said, like the one time he landed through that uppercut, he took him out. I think I don't know. What do you think in terms of Fury's performance from a boxing coach's perspective?
Really, with Fury's performance, and in terms of watching him, and say if you're watching Fury, maybe you really want him to lose. You might watch him and just say, look, get on his chest and get on the inside and make it uncomfortable. The problem is Fury at range is brilliant. You get close to Fury and try to fight him on the inside now, he's just as dangerous. He mauls you, he knows when to hold, he knows where to put his head, he knows how to get those little shots and those little gaps. He's so dangerous on the inside. So we're not just talking about a fighter, he's brilliant on his legs and can move around and dance. Yeah, we can do that. But obviously as well, that what we've spoken about before, he actually can't do that as effectively now as he's older, for doing it for 12 rounds as he's older, the amount of weight he's put on his body and takes off. So this is why Sugar Hill's such a brilliant coach as well, because he's had to look at Fury, look at his strengths and maybe what he needs to improve on, and come up with this recipe for success, which he's done, because we still watch Fury and see the good things he can do. He can still move. He still has great reflexes. We've seen Whyte trying to land that big right hand tonight. Fury just timing it and moving out the way at the perfect time. But again, get on the inside with Fury if you really want that. If you really think, the way to beat him is get on the inside. Get on the inside of him. It's just as dangerous.
I think obviously you know a lot more than me, but from watching it, watching the first few rounds, I think Fury's really good at, when you think you're in range, he'll just offset you. He'll take a little side step halfway, and then Dillian Whyte looked lost. I know he's not got the quickest feet. Heavyweights generally don't, but I thought Fury was really good at offsetting his work and just getting out of range really quickly. And there was one hook, I think there's one exchange where Whyte's thrown a left hook to the body and he's just missed him by that much. And it's like, that's what the greats do. It's just that much, isn't it? It's not the massive gaps. It's that close.
What would you, as a Tyson Fury fan, as a boxing fan, what would you like to see Fury do next?
I know there's a lot of clamour for the Usyk AJ winner, but he's won every title. He's never lost in the ring. I don't know what else there is for him to do. Yeah, he could go fight AJ, he could have it, or Usyk, but for me, I don't really have the desire for it. I just think boxing's a tough sport, mate, and I think he needs to. I think he should walk away. And this is the perfect way. He's had a homecoming fight, 94,000 people. He wins by knockout against a British rival. How can you eclipse that?
It literally
That's just why
it's literally perfect. Like you say, the biggest fight in British boxing history, 94,000 people at Wembley, a brilliant performance from start to finish, the perfect ending. It's you don't want to go on longer than you need to, especially with, I know people talk about the AJ Usyk winner. The potential problem with that is we're still waiting on that date to be announced. It sounds like it's going to be July 23rd. That fight happens. After that fight, both fighters or the winner is going to take a month or two out, a break. Then, of course, it's another 3-4 months until that fight happens. Fury's at this point of his career where he doesn't really want to be waiting around longer than he needs to. And like you say, is it being a fan of his from an early age and then seeing his struggles and seeing where he's been and what he's done? I would like, it'd be great to see him now call it a day on that performance, because it's like you say, can it get better than that? I mean, going and maybe doing the same to Usyk or Joshua, but it's a dangerous sport. It's a dangerous sport. So if he does call it a day and he's serious about not boxing again, what a career it's been.
Yeah, and I mean, my view as a Fury fan, and I think you might share it, is if he goes fights Usyk, because I think Usyk beats AJ again. One, there's political uncertainty with Ukraine, so you don't know what Usyk's situation is going to be in 6 months' time. But if he beats Usyk, AJ could go beat two good fighters, and there'll be a clamour for that fight. And then if he beats AJ, there'll be someone else. There'll be a Joe Joyce, there'll be a Hagovic, there'll be a Yoka. It never ends. I mean, the promoter's job, Hearn, Warren, whoever, they can always promote someone to be the next guy. So people might say, oh, he has to be undisputed, but really everyone knows who the heavyweight champion of the world is, and it's Tyson Fury. He's got the WBC and the title, so I don't think